We're going to talk about perimeter and area of rectangles and squares. Remember that rectangles and squares are both quadrilateral, so they have four sides. Something very specific about both of these, they have four right angles. So if you take a look at both of these, they have four angles that are 90 degrees in measurement. So the way that we measure these is we're going to take a look at area, which is the measure in square units of the inside region of a figure. Perimeter is measuring the distance around a figure. So one of them is inside, one of them is going around the outside. Now when you think about square units, it's not like, oh, here's a square, but this is a good example of thinking about it. That is like a square unit right there. So think about like a floor tile. And if you're trying to figure out like how big a room is and you have floor tiles in there, you can count how many floor tiles, and that gives you, they're usually square in shape, that gives you how many square units and whatever size they end up being of what that room is. So inside is measured in square units, distance around, distance is just one measurement. We measure it one way, even though we change directions, you're still just measuring a straight length. But with area, it's kind of blocking off on the inside and going from there. All right, formulas that we have. We have the perimeter formula for a rectangle. With every rectangle, we have a length and we have a width. I'll be 100% honest with you, it really doesn't matter which one's width, which one is which. We usually give the length to the longer side. But as you will see, if we do things either way, if you call this length, this the width, you're going to get the same answer. So our formula for perimeter of a rectangle is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And the reason is, as I measure around, okay, this length of measurement, let's call it 8 right now. So I have a measurement of 8 right there, and then as I come around to the other side, another measurement of 8 right there. Okay, let's call the width 3 for the fun of it. I have a measurement of 3. I come around to the other side, measuring 3 again. So I have a length here, width there, width right there, end up with 2 of them. If it helps you to visualize, that's what you're looking at there. 2 lengths, 2 widths. All right, our area is a little bit different. Still using that length times width. And you have length times width being the area. You take your measurement going this way, multiply it by this, that's going to give you those square units. Before we get too far, let's go ahead and say what each of these letters means. L is length, W is width, and then we have one more we're going to add in just a second, but those will get us started. All right. Another thing that you may see sometime is the length and the width being referred to as the base and the height. Substitute base for L, substitute H for W. Again, you won't see that much in our stuff, but if you are dealing with like a parallelogram or something, instead of doing length and width, they do base and height. It's the same thing here. You'll talk about that more in 7th grade. All right, square is a little bit different. Square is ever so slightly different. The reason is we know with squares, all 4 sides have the same measurement. So that changes things up for us a little bit. Because they all have the same exact measurement, we can just straight up call each one a side. So instead of a length or a width, we just call it a side because all of the sides are the same. So when we talk perimeter, you're really just adding up by going around, you're adding up all the sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. P equals 4S, 4 times the sides. Okay, call this 2. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8, or simply 2 times 4, 8. Area, you're always going to measure one of your measurements, so like going one direction by the other direction, you're going to multiply those together. So here it was length times width, so we're going to do the same thing here, this side times this side. So that gives you side times side, but I don't want to keep writing that out like the same thing times the same thing. I don't want to do like 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 16 times 16. So what we have is a nice way to kind of be lazy in math with that, because we love being lazy in math, and we just call it side squared. So that right there is your formula you want to hang on to for the area of a square. Side squared. Side times side. All right. For each problem, we're going to practice 5 problems together. For each problem, we're going to find the area, and we are going to find the perimeter. We're going to do a couple together, and then you will practice the other ones on your own. All right, take a look first at this one. 4 inches by 7 inches. So what we need to do is we need to say which one is going to be our length, which one is going to be our width. I'm just going to pick longer side as length, shorter side as width. Okay, our area formula for a rectangle is area equals length times width. And then we plug in, after using the formula, we plug in the values. So length is 7, width is 4. You may be thinking, oh, I'll just skip this step, go right to this one, or even skip this and just put the answer. Take the time and do this. Okay, we're not going to learn about it this year, but next year you'll learn about surface area. Surface area is complicated in the sense that you have a lot of things that you need to plug in for the formula. Take the time with the easy stuff to practice getting in that habit. That way when you get to next year and later on in your math career, it's not a pain for you to write this stuff in. You're used to it at that point. All right, 7 times 4, 28. Our unit is inches. And because we said it's area is measured in square units, so it is inches squared. Another way that you can write this, if you really want to, is using SQ for square and inches. Either of those are perfectly acceptable answers. The more common one, though, is what I'm boxing in right now. That is far more common. Sometimes, like in building and stuff like that, you'll see that. Or like real estate listings, you'll see it like that. All right, perimeter. Formula is P equals 2L plus 2W. So start with writing the formula in there, and then we're just going to plug in the values that we have. All right, 2 times the length, which is 7, plus 2 times the width, which is 4. Gives us that right there. And our next step, what we need to do is we just need to go ahead and solve. You could do this in one move. I'm going to show it. That way you can see both of them. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 2 times 4, which is 8. 14 plus 8 gives us 22. And remember, it is just a straight up measurement. No squared, no nothing. Because when you measure, you're just going one measurement all the way across. All right. For this one, got a little hard to see with the copies, but you can still see the lines coming down. This one's a little bit different. We don't have a unit given to us. However, we do have these grids that help us figure it out. So if I see the ones that I can tell going across, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units across. And since we don't know what those units are, we just simply call them units. And then going up and down, I've got 1, 2, 3 going down, so we've got 3 units there. So it's 6 units by 3 units. Not the same measurement, which means it's a rectangle, not a square. So area formula, same thing. A equals L times W, length times width. Going to call the length 6, the width 3. Area is 6 times 3, which is 18 units squared. All right, go ahead and try perimeter on your own. Give a quick pause, plug in everything, try it out, and then check in with me. All right, let's check 2LW, or I'm sorry, 2L plus 2W. Plugging it in, 2 times 6 plus 2 times 3. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 2 times 3 is 6. Our perimeter is 18. Now notice both of these are the exact same value, but they mean two completely different things. Okay, what this one means is that there are 18 of these squares inside of this rectangle. If you count them out, there's 18 of those squares inside there. That's what that refers to. This refers to, I'm going 6 units here, 3 units here, 6 units here, 3 units there, 18. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the next thing that we have for us, we are going to take a look at the back side. You are going to do a little bit of practice on your own. You've got a square followed by a rectangle, and then take a look here. It only tells us 15 inches. But if you look at the shape, that shape is a square, and it only tells you one measurement, which means the other measurements have to be 15. Use that information to help you out. What you're going to do, you're going to do all 3 of these problems for practice. Go ahead and do the area and perimeter of each. Check in with me for the rest of them or when you're done for the answers. If you would like to skip ahead and just check out the answer in the video, feel free to do that as long as you get them right. If you get them wrong, please come back and watch the right way to do them. Alright, so go ahead, pause the video, do those 3 problems, and then check in with me once you're done. Alright, we're going to go through these. We'll go a little bit quicker since you already did the problems. That way you don't have to just sit here and watch me do them over and over again. Alright, we're talking area of a square because 3 and 3. So, area formula for a square is side squared. And then I'm simply just going to plug in the value there. Value of side is 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9, so that is 9 centimeters squared. Taking a look at the perimeter, since it's a square, P equals 4S, 4 times the length of the side. So that's going to be 4 times the side length of 3. 4 times 3 is 12. The perimeter is 12 centimeters. Alright, next one is a rectangle, so we're back to that formula that we are familiar with by now. Area of a rectangle is length times width. I'm going to go ahead and call the length, actually for the fun of it, I'm going to call the length 10 and the width 15. If you did it the other way, just check the answer at the end. I'm going to prove to you why it doesn't matter which one you pick. Okay, 10 times 15 is 150 inches squared. If you did it the other way, and you did the length of 15 times the width of 10, you still get 150. So it really doesn't matter when it comes to rectangles which one you call the length, which one you call the width, because you get the same exact answer based on the commutative property of multiplication. Take a look at perimeter with me. I'm going to go back to using the ones that I chose for it over here. And again, you'll see that it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we're still taking 10 and multiplying it by 2 and adding it to 15 multiplied by 2. Even if you switch these around, commutative property of addition, switch those around, you end up with 20 plus 30 and a perimeter of 50 inches. Alright, last problem of the day. Area of a square, S squared. Our side length is 15, so it's 15 squared. Hopefully you remember your perfect squares from a few months ago. 15 squared is 225, and its area, so it is inches squared. Okay, as long as you check this ahead of time, see what this is, all you gotta do is make sure you put it in there correctly and put the square. If you don't remember abbreviation for something, write out the whole word if it gives it to you, and you're good to go. Alright, perimeter 4S, so that's 4 times 15. 4 times 15 or 15 times 4 will give you an answer of 60. So our perimeter all the way around this square, 60 inches. All right. Feel free to go back and rewatch any of the problems that you may have missed, or you need a little bit more work with understanding them. My recommendation to you is this. If you have questions that you are still stuck on, please come to class on the next day we meet and make sure that you are asking them, and then we will do some practice in class together. See you in class.